Today we've got Will Hershey, the co-founder and CEO of Roundhill Investments on the line today. Thanks, Will.
Thanks for having me, Zach.
Yeah, my pleasure. I come from a background in sports betting in the industry, more on the actual operational side of things. But, ever since PASPA was overturned in 2018, it's become a hot commodity on the market. So, taking a look at Roundhill Investments and what you guys are doing over there with some of the ETFs that you've recently opened up, focused mainly in esports and sports betting, wanted to take the time to talk to you a little bit and get some of your insight on the future of the industry. So maybe, a lot of the people watching might not be extremely familiar with some of these markets. I don't know if you have, a few minutes to maybe run us through a little bit of the history of Roundhill Investments and the two ETFs that you're pretty excited about.
Sure. So we are a startup ETF issuer. I think most people think of exchange traded funds ETFs and they think of iShares and Vanguard. Well, there's some of us smaller guys out there that are putting out ETFs as well. And really, when we started Roundhill in late 2018, our goal was, let's create ETFs, exchange traded funds, that offer exposure to secular growth themes in the market that younger people and self-directed investors are really passionate about. They believe in the companies, they're interacting with the companies. And can we package that into an ETF and offer people exposure to these themes in one ticker rather than making an investment in a single security? Personally, I believe in kind of the Peter Lynch style of investing, invest in what you believe in, invest in what you know, but taking that and doing it in a diversified way where really you're not making a single bet on a single company. That's what we've done with our esports fund, which trades under the ticker symbol NERD, N-E-R-D, as well as our sports betting and iGaming fund, which trades under the ticker symbol BETZ, B-E-T-Z.
Okay, nice. And just looking at BETZ, for instance, you currently hold value or stocks in numerous different companies that are traded outside of the U.S. market. The Kindred Group or Australia's PointsBet, for example. Have you been able to look at these and how they performed in kind of what you would consider more mature gambling markets, regions that have had legalized sports betting for much longer than obviously the United States, and use that to help kind of project the way you invest in some of the more local brands? The Score, DraftKings recently going public, Penn National.
No, it's really interesting because I think a lot of the excitement is around the U.S. market right now, and for good reason, right? We're seeing regulatory momentum in terms of states legalizing and then what the growth looks like there. But this has been a story that's played out, as you mentioned, in the UK, in Australia, in Sweden for years now. And I think part of the value that we bring in terms of our fund is offering exposure to those securities that maybe investors are less familiar with or simply unable to invest in. When we're trying to, well, first of all, I should also mention, we're not fundamental stock pickers. Instead, our goal, it really is, you want to invest in sports betting and iGaming, you believe that's the future. We provide the vehicle to do that and are identifying companies exposed to the theme. We're not necessarily saying, Canby is a great value, let's add that to the portfolio. But when you look at, I think really when, trying to take note of kind of the size and growth of the market in those various regions and project that onto the U.S., really difficult. And I think when you're looking at the projections of how big the U.S. market can become, there's a wide range. You're talking about tens of billions in GGR and gross gaming revenues that I think most people expect, but it's really difficult to try and say, here's what the average adult in the UK bets per year on sports. Let's translate that into the US. That being said, I think what we're seeing right now in the market is just a tremendous appetite and demand for sports betting, even though you're not seeing fans in the stands. And I think this is kind of a longer term trend of, one, a shift from physical brick and mortar in the overall gambling industry, whether it's sports betting or casino. And then number two, really tapping into a trend that I see with Gen Z and younger generations, which is wanting to feel like you're really involved in whatever it is you're engaging with. Same reason why we're bullish on esports really translates into sports betting. It's a whole lot more exciting for me to watch a Major League Baseball game if I have quote unquote skin in the game. And I think that's something that really is going to appeal on a generational basis.